Welcome to our high frequency healing podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me, Angela. Hi, Angela.
Hi.
Angela is a teacher at Shine, Ohio, and she does shinrin yoku, which I'm going to let her talk. If you don't know what shinrin yoku is about, I'll let her tell you that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I just wanted to get started because Angela is my favorite tree hugger. Is that okay to like tree
Yes.
hugger, right?
Yes. What a compliment.
My favorite tree hugger. And before we actually started recording this podcast, Angela was saying that a buck just was walking by her window as we're getting ready to talk about Shinrin
Yeah.
Yoku. So, how appropriate is that? So, Angela, my first question for you is what inspired you to get started with like just being in nature and healing in nature?
Mm. Well, it started when I was young, only I didn't know what it was at the time, right? I was just going out into nature to seek solace, like to find comfort when I was upset. I grew up on a farm, so we had like 92 acres. I was outside all the time. Yeah. And we were lucky enough to have, out in the back fields. As a matter of fact, I'm still here now. So I live on part of the farm. So I'm looking at it, but there's a stream that runs through the fields, and behind that there's woods. So I would go out, and it's funny because my memories of this are always winter. I would put on all these layers and go out into the woods, and every single time I'd just wander around for an hour with no agenda, just to be in the woods, and I would come out feeling a million times better. So that's how it started.
Wow. Okay. So 92 acres. Like,
Yeah.
let me ask you this question. I never know where conversations are going to go. 92 acres. Did you appreciate that as a child or did you feel isolated, secluded? Like, you know what I mean? Like how was that like growing up on 92 acres? That would be my dream
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, me too. It is my dream. I live here now, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, with all my siblings. We call it the compound.
Oh my gosh.
But when I was younger, I didn't appreciate it at all, not at all, which kind of breaks my heart because I wish I would have, but you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
So now I appreciate it fully, and I still go out in the same woods. I usually go out in the winter because in the summer it's full of poison ivy. So I tend not to go up there so much in the summertime. But in the winter, I'm up there constantly, just wandering around. Yeah, so now I fully appreciate it, but I
Yeah.
unfortunately didn't when I was younger.
Yeah. Okay, so what is Shinrin Yoku? Like explain
Ah,
to our viewers who don't know, what is Shinrin Yoku?
so shinrin yoku, translated from Japanese, is forest bathing, bathing in the air of the forest, and that's literally what we're doing. We're not swimming. We might have water at a forest bathing experience, maybe a stream or a pond, but we're not swimming. We're swimming in the air of the forest. So the air of the forest has phytoncides, these compounds that we breathe in, and they raise our natural killer cells, so they fight off disease. So they discovered this back in Japan, like 1982, that people were getting healthier just from spending time in the forest. So they started doing studies on it and found out, yeah, scientifically, that is absolutely correct. And that's how it all began. And so that's what we offer at Shine is forest bathing experiences and forest bathing certifications.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, it's so funny in different cultures how they experience like nature in different ways. And I think Japan, if I remember correctly, Angela, they then instituted like they spent a lot of money on millions and millions of dollars
Millions.
on research because they were trying to offset, and this was back in the 80s, I think. They
Yes.
were trying to offset the way that people were living in Japan with too much technology and so, like, right, can
Yeah.
we any of us
Well,
relate to that now in
right.
2025, right? That was in the
Right.
80s before,
Yeah.
Steve Jobs entered the
Yeah.
entered the
Yeah.
scene. Thank you very much, Steve Jobs. Uh,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah,
technology is wonderful, but man, do we need nature even more than we ever have.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we're not here to say like throw your technology away. We're
Yeah.
here to say there's things that can help you live a more balanced life because
Yes,
of that technology. And then I'm going to
exactly.
share a quick story because we do offer certifications, and you're the guide of the certification, and everyone's obsessed with you and loves with you and falls in love with you, and
Thank
I
you.
just love it. But we've had people from Canada We
Yes.
have people from all over take our certifications, but the one thing that I thought was interesting when this man from Canada came, he was telling us a story that they actually write prescriptions
Yes.
in Canada, like for certain ailments. They'll write a prescription of shinrin yoku or forest bathing where they actually prescribe them to go into the wildlife. Isn't that
Yeah.
just so cool?
It is so cool. Yeah, and that's why he came to take the certification so that he could offer that to people. They were
Yeah.
doing, they're opening, I wanna say a retreat center where they had like 2 and 3 day retreats where you're just out
Hmm.
in nature so that people with that prescription could come and, be taken care of in that way.
Yeah. And I think one of the misnomers about when people hear forest bathing is they do think it's just like a bunch of hippies outside like swimming naked in the water. Which whatever. I mean, go if
Sounds
that's
fun
what you
too.
want to do. Yeah. That's not what forest bathing is. It's actually a very specific framework. Is it 8 or 9 steps? I always forget. Is the framework 8 or 9?
9. There's 9 steps.
Nine-step framework.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
not just I think sometimes people and again, like let's just say if you're out in nature being mindful and still,
Yes.
you're forest bathing, right?
Yeah,
You're forest bathing.
absolutely.
But there's a very specific technique that we teach and we use in our forest bathing experiences. That's a 9-step process and it includes invitations. And I was wondering if you could spend like a minute talking about the invitations.
Oh, I love the invitations. I love the framework. I love the 9 step framework, because that's what it is. It's a framework. So you learn the framework, and then you have that right in your back pocket for the rest of your life, to take with you. But the invitations are basically nature calling to you in some way to come interact. So maybe it's the clouds in the sky that you feel this, you know, instinct, this intuition in your body that you should be interacting with the clouds, that you want to go lay down in the grass and just cloud gaze for a while. Or you go to the stream and you just want to listen to what the stream sounds like. Maybe you've never stood on the side of a stream and listened to what it sounds like. So
Mm,
we're using all of the senses and a couple extras that we teach, that we
mhm.
use that we maybe don't even think about. We're using all of those to interact with nature. So the invitation is when nature is calling us to interact with it in some way.
Yeah. And unlike you, I was not born as somebody spending time in nature. I would have like thought like a tree hugger person was like weird and then during COVID, which I won't share my story, but during COVID, I felt the full power of
Mhm.
forest bathing. And when other people were losing their minds, was in this complete space of peace on accident because I had just bought a property and I was spending time outside, hours upon hours cleaning up the property in the forest and
Yeah,
didn't realize the effect it was going to have on me, and which is how I found forest bathing and really got involved with it. But it's not I think another misnomer about forest bathing is people think it's like just hiking, and it's
right.
not. It's about these invitations, and I'm gonna ask you what your favorite invitation is. I remember the first time I heard somebody say this as an invitation and I experienced it. It was just a profound moment for me. It's called Yugen
Mhm.
in Japan, where you don't have words about this just magical experience you have with the forest. And there's an invitation that when you find animal tracks, you stop, come to your knees, and place your hands in the animal tracks and experience their life force energy through your eyes. And the first time I did that, that's truly when I had such a magical experience that I've never experienced before in nature.
Yeah. Yes. I think my most profound invitation, I was leading an experience and I went out, and I hang out near the lighthouse so that I can be close by if anyone needs anything. But I was drawn to a tree that's right behind the lighthouse and I interacted with this tree for 45 minutes, just touching the leaves and touching the bark and gazing up in the leaves. And it was fall, and they were all, they would come and fall on me. And it was just, I fell in love with this tree in those
Yeah.
45 minutes. I couldn't believe how strong the pull of this tree was. So I think
Mm,
that was my most surprising one. I always think, oh, I'm going to go
yeah.
down by the water. And then something will call to me, and it's not always what I think it's going to be. And I've heard that repeatedly from people that have come to the experiences, that it's not what they thought it was going to be. The
Yes.
invitation is something different, and there's multiple invitations, and they might be not at all what they thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, and it can't be manufactured, you know what
No,
I mean? It just that's
exactly
why I
right.
think I love the word in forest bathing or shinrin yoku, this, invitation, because it's
Yeah.
really inviting you in.
Yes,
And if some
exactly.
people are hearing this and they're like, I can't just even imagine being invited in, or I think what happens, particularly in a guided kind of anytime you're in a guided atmosphere and there's a guide guiding you through a practice, I think one of the things that has to happen, and I don't want to really go fully into this, but one of the things has to happen is that we as humans live about 70% of our day in this high beta state, like this analytical, in the mind
Mm,
space. And
yeah,
really, in order to fully experience Shinrin Yoku, I think at some level you have to drop out of beta and into alpha and theta, right?
yes,
Probably more alpha than theta, but that is where this 8-step process comes in, is we're priming people and allowing them to get into this out of beta into alpha so that they can experience their world through a different lens. And so I think I would say that is that that's why there's a framework and an
yes,
actual process to get you to where you need to be. And the truth
yes.
is that nature usually, if you're willing to allow yourself, will pull you into that anyways. But
Yeah,
for people who are like,
absolutely.
I'm so in my head, I can't imagine like a tree calling me over, it's
Yeah,
because it's very intentional the way that we
yes.
prime people into these experiences.
Yeah, including an intention meditation. We do an intention meditation before we even walk out there, and I really think that meditation is key to getting in that mindset. There's just something about that you're like you start to come down and you're like, "Okay, this is a different phase of life. I'm stepping out of my normal life and I'm crossing the threshold to go into my Shinrin Yoku experience." And it just sets the tone for it.
I love that part of Shinrin Yoku
Same.
where you
Me too.
actually cross
Yeah.
the threshold and then come back in through the threshold. It's just
Yes.
all very ceremonial in a
Very
very
much so.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, so it's the
Um,
threshold of connection and the threshold of incorporation, so, yeah,
yeah.
love both of those, yeah.
Yes. So I want to talk about how we believe that you're supposed to practice Shinrin Yoku in all
Mm.
weather and all seasons. But before I do that, let's just talk a second about this stat, because this stat blows my mind. 87% of Americans spend 80% of their day indoors.
Yes, which
Now,
is
we live in
really crazy.
Ohio, right? It is crazy.
Yeah.
We live in Ohio, so there's a lot of reasons why we could say why we're indoors 87% of the time.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we joke about, Angela and I joke about this all the time. I love this. When we first started hosting Shinrin Yoku forest bathing experiences, we would be like praying for nice weather, like, oh my God, please, because we're outside, right? So we're like, please give us nice weather so people will come. And
Yeah.
what started happening is we weren't getting nice weather. We were getting thunder. We were even getting like
Yeah.
heavy rains, really cold weather when it shouldn't
Yes.
have been cold, even snow when it shouldn't have been snowing. And what we really quickly realized is then we started praying for not sunny weather, because the magical moments happened in these others. So talk about that for
Yeah,
a second.
every single time, every single time. It's so funny. I just talked to a woman the other day that came to an experience in February of last year, and well, I guess it was this year. And I remember this day because it was so cold, and there was, I don't know, maybe 10 people signed up. Everyone showed up. I give all of them credit. She said she was driving there and was like, "What am I doing? It's freezing cold outside. The wind is blowing. It's 22 degrees." And she said, "But I showed up." And she said, "I forgot when I was out there experiencing it." She said, "I completely forgot about the cold. I didn't even notice it because I was so enthralled with the experience of interacting with nature." You notice things you've never noticed before because you're not doing any other thing except looking for those invitations and interacting with and showing appreciation and gratitude in nature. So it's that reciprocity. But yeah, in Ohio, we could make all kinds of excuses why we don't want to go outside. Every time we do, we find something magical. Every
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, it's actually such a blessing. Angela and I geek out like the day before forest bathing. I mean, Angela way more than me. She's like obsessed. And we've
Yeah.
had people drive. Our forest bathing, the way we teach it is in a 3 hours. And honestly, I can't imagine, like we get asked all the time, can you come to our retreat or whatever and shrink it down to 90 minutes? And we can accommodate people, but really like a 3 hour, and
Yeah.
I'll have you talk about the circle at the end, but three
Yes.
hours is so magical. But we have people drive like 6 hours to come to our 3 hours.
Yes.
And I've
Yeah.
even had somebody reach out to me like almost a year later after having the forest bathing experience and define to me how it was a changing moment in her life. Her
Mhm.
twin sister actually passed away and she was struggling with it for years. And she came to forest bathing and it changed her life completely, and even her relationship and her grief with her sister that passed.
Wow. 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 That's amazing.
And we
That's
just get to
amazing.
be part of
I
this.
know, and every single time I'm blown away. So you had mentioned briefly, we have a tea and sharing circle at the end. So when we've crossed over the threshold of incorporation, we all come back in and we sit around and in a circle and we pass the sharing stick. And you can share or not, it's always optional. But pretty much every single time, almost every person shares, and I am completely blown away with how vulnerable everyone is because that you're entwined. Your nature and your energy and nature's energy is entwined, and you're in the optimal flow. And so I always call it nature dope. You're like high off of that, and you're so in tuned, and it just breaks you open to where when we sit in those circles, everyone shares these deep, beautiful things that they realized when they were outside. Every time I'm so honored. And so I just feel like it's such a joy that I'm able to be part of it.
To be a guide in that and like
Yeah.
help people move through that. I love that you call it nature dope. And it made me think when you said that, not that we need to talk about this now, when you talk about it in the workshops and the certification, that in nature, there's this whole underlying communication that's happening in nature
Yes.
and they're communicating with each other. And the way I would even like to say it is they're all one. And when you
Yes.
get on that nature dope and you get into the rhythm of the forest. And then you come back together in a circle and everybody's on that nature dope and everyone is on the rhythm of the forest.
Yeah.
Essentially what is we all feel the connection to each other. That is our true state that we normally
Absolutely.
don't feel because of the modern lives that we
Yeah.
live. And
Yeah.
that's why I think the connections are so powerful and the sharing is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one experience that you and I had spoken on the way as I was driving in because it was thunderstorming. And then by the time I got there, it had let up and it was raining, but everybody came in. I think there was 13 people. Everybody was real quiet. And I think they were all a little hesitant because it was raining and you weren't sure what that was going to happen. And so it was really quiet as we started off and everybody went out. And when they came back in, I was welcoming everyone back in. So I was in the other room. The noise in the room as people came back was a din. I mean, it sounded like a party because everybody was just, just sharing with each other. These people, none of them knew each other, but they were so in that optimal flow that they just all made friends with each other and were just laughing and talking. And it was beautiful. I was just like, wow, that's so cool.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like as a guide, I bet it's just so amazing to see the transformation in people in such a
Absolutely.
short time.
Yes.
Like when I
Yeah.
was teaching Reiki certification, master training in particular, and it was a 2-day course, I could feel on day 2 how different people were because they
Yeah.
literally weren't the same person. And you get to experience that in such a short time because they come in one way and they're
Yeah.
different. They truly are different.
Yes.
Cellularly, they're different. Mentally and emotionally, they're different. Spiritually, they're different. It's,
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and every single time someone will say to me, "This isn't at all what I expected," and
mhm,
I'm so glad that I did this. Like,
yeah,
it's everyone's just like, "Wow.
yeah.
Wow."
Yeah. So I want to share another stat because we do have training and certification to teach people to be guides. And I think the other stat is like, let's try to get more people outside, right? That 87% inside.
Yes.
But the other thing that they found is that people are actually craving a formal practice and looking for guides and opportunities for them to get outside. And it makes perfect sense to me because, like, yoga, like, if you think about yoga, if we have Angela and our yogis, if we have any
Yep. Yep.
yogis in the audience, welcome to the space. But, we can practice yoga by ourselves, but it feels different when you're in a room and there's a guide helping you, getting
Absolutely.
you out. And not to mention, we get distracted. And if you actually go into this 3-hour workshop, you're not going to be distracted.
Yeah, that's all you're doing. Because usually when we're outside, we're doing something, whether it's mowing the lawn or gardening or hiking or something. We're usually doing something else. I mean, it still counts. Obviously, it counts. You're out there. But when we're doing that experience, that 3 hour workshop, that's all we're doing. There's
Yeah.
nothing else. And that's really a different relationship, then it's a different experience.
Yeah. And I think we covered this a little bit, but what would you say to people who said, like, I can't force bathe, or, I don't want to force bathe?
Yeah.
Or, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say 5 minutes. Just go outside for 5 minutes. Go outside for 1 minute. Just try it. Go outside with no agenda, no expectations. Walk outside for 5 minutes, or like I said, 1 minute, and just notice.
Mm,
Just become aware of your surroundings. Just use all
yeah.
your senses to become engaged with your surroundings and see what happens.
Yes. And by the way, we have I didn't even think of this, but we have a guided forest bathing Shinrin Yoku meditation at Shine in our online library. And I'm going to drop it below for
I
free.
love that.
Anyone
Love
listening
it.
to this podcast right now, I'm going to drop it below in the comments, and feel free to even utilize that. If you need the help of, like, the mind chatter, I mean, when we're in nature, I like sometimes just to be in silence, and I'm sure you do too, Angela.
Yeah.
But, sometimes it's okay to have a little bit of help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd say any way that you can get there, do that. But,
Yeah,
if you don't go outside, you'll never know. You'll never
yeah,
know. So if you don't go, you'll never know. So you gotta go.
yeah. You've inspired me because you have a daily practice where
Do.
it might have changed since last time, 20
Yep.
minutes outside, no matter what the weather is,
No
every day.
matter what the weather. Absolutely. Every single day I go outside no matter what the weather. And it's now actually more than that. So
Mhm,
it started with, I mean, a couple of years ago, I don't remember how long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, it was 20 minutes.
mhm.
And now it's much more than that. I go outside. It's hard for me to be inside. I'm
Yeah,
struggling to not be outside as all the time as much as possible. So, but
yes.
we got to cook and eat and,
Yeah. Yeah, and barefoot so we can ground, which we're not even gonna get into the topic
yeah.
of grounding. Like, come see us and we'll tell you about
Yes.
ground. If you don't know about grounding, like, come see us, please. Please
Yeah.
come
And you
see
can
us.
be barefoot in your Shinrin yoga experience when you're with us.
Yes. Yes. Well, this is my last question for you, unless there's anything else you want to share. I'm so curious to hear this because I don't know the answer to this. After leading experiences, because you've done, like, quite a few now, and in every different circumstances with lots
Yeah.
of different people, what do you think has surprised you the most?
I'm gonna have to say that every single time it's a radically different experience. It's
Mm,
never the same way twice. It's Yugen, right? It's that one off. It's, wow, this is never gonna happen again the same way with these same people, with these same energies, with the weather the way it is, with the day the way it is, with whatever's happening out in nature that day. It is
and you,
always.
whatever's happening with
Yes,
you. Yeah.
exactly, the most important part, you. Right. Yeah, it's always so unique every single time, and I'm always amazed by that. I don't know what I'm thinking, but every time I show up, I'm just like, "That was amazing," and then the next time I'm like, "That was amazing. Wow, that was beautiful." And it's just everyone's energy, it's nature's energy, it's your energy. All of that is, of course, gonna be different every single time, and it always makes for a beautiful experience.
I love that you said that because you know what it made me think of? When I'm teaching, I teach something called theta breath. And I always say, if this is your first time, like, I give them their little pep talk. And I say, if this is your second time, do not expect it to be the same.
Yeah.
Do not,
Yep.
and it goes back to, like, that conversation of manufacturing. Like, yes, you can have an intention, but you're
Yes.
not
Yes.
manufacturing any of this. You're just allowing it to kind of happen to you,
Yep.
being guided by the
Yeah.
invitation.
As a matter
Well,
of fact, if you feel like you're forcing it or if it feels like it's something you should be doing, then you abandon it immediately.
yeah.
You let it go.
Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to say about that is that, like, you don't just go to one yoga class and then you're like, well,
Right.
I did yoga. I
All
did
done.
yoga, so I'm good. It's like, no, you practice it. In fact, the stat says that
Yeah,
if you don't practice yoga at least 3 times a week, you're not actually receiving the full benefits that you could be receiving from yoga. And I
yeah,
mean, yeah, maybe you don't go to a formal Shinrin Yoku every day, but like, hey,
right.
well, maybe you do have to practice it 3 times a week in order to fully expect it. But yeah, I don't just go to one yoga class and be like, well, I did that, so I don't have to go
Yeah,
again. Just like
yeah,
go to several different, forest bathing experiences because it's going to be different every single time.
absolutely, and a daily practice is best. Even if it's, like I said before, 5 minutes, a daily practice is the best thing.
Yeah. When I get like my head spinning, because, I'll be honest, like I just actually somebody told me work is fun. Like work is fun. I think work is fun and like I work a lot of hours, but when my head starts to spin at while I'm working and being creative, I just
Yeah,
go take a walk for 5
yeah,
minutes, breathe in the fresh air and
yes.
I just like can't even now I'm just
Yeah,
connected. I'm just back
yeah,
in it and connected.
yeah. I do that when I'm stressed. If I'm at home and I can feel that I'm starting to get stressed about something, I'm like every time to myself, I'm like, "Go outside. You know that's gonna help. You know it." Even and sometimes I'm so stressed, I'm like, "No, I can't go outside." But I'll go outside no matter what the weather. And then I'm out there for a few minutes. I'm like, "What was my problem? I don't even
I know.
remember."
I forgot. Oh, yeah. It's so
Yeah.
funny you say that because, like, why do we resist it? We're like, we
Mhm.
resist it because it seems counterintuitive. Like, I'm really busy if I go outside and for 5 minutes. But,
Yeah.
time is very mysterious in that
Yes, it
when you
is.
go out in nature, it actually gives you time back. It's just a very interesting,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
and I don't know why we resist it so much. I think it's almost too simple, right? It's like, "Oh,
Ah,
that's not gonna work. It's too easy. It's free. It's gonna take 5 minutes," and it does. It works every single time.
yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. It's so simple. You're right. I think sometimes when something is so simple, we just think it has to be complicated. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, so tell us what should they do next? If they're interested in any of the things that we've talked about, what would you recommend them doing next?
I would start with an experience, so 3 hours. They're in the winter, fall and winter, they're on Saturday mornings usually, and then in the warmer months, we do them in the evenings. But come for an experience. I think we usually have them once a season, once a quarter, so you can experience any weather. And I would encourage you to do it in the months that you might not like. So if we have one, like let's say in March or February, try one of those, see what happens. Be open to that. And then if you like that,
Wait, before we even get in
yes.
that. So it's at shineohio.com/classes. You will see our forest bathing. You can find our forest bathing there. And again, like she said, it's at least 4 times a year in every single season. And I just have a really quick story. Somebody sent me an email and they were like, we're signed up for whatever, and they didn't like how the weather was going to unfold. So they're like, so we were wondering if we could move to the next forest bathing class because the weather is not going to be good. And I said, oh, you're missing out. Please don't move it. Like you're missing
Yeah,
out. You're missing the whole point. Like
yes.
we used to pray for sunshine. We're like, now we pray for not sunshine. So
Yeah,
that's the other
yes,
thing I want to
yeah,
just keep reiterating.
yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I always say the worse the weather, the holier the experience.
Holier the experience.
Because it's true.
Yes.
You notice
Yes.
things you've never noticed before, and you're like, "Why have I never been outside when the weather's not good?" It doesn't matter. Weather is one element of nature, and we give it so much weight. We give it
Mm.
so much importance, but it's just one element of it. You're gonna live. You're not gonna melt in the rain or in the snow,
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Okay, now tell people who are
Yes.
interested in guiding this. Like
Yes. So we have a
we're could be
certification.
preaching to the choir right now, and they're like, "Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
force feed as much as possible. Tell me how I can guide people."
Yeah, so come to the certification course. That's also I think it's usually 3 times a year. It's 7 hours long, and we cover not just the 9 steps, but also the science behind it and the history of it, and we go through all the different ways that you will be able to guide and experience on your own. We give you all the tools. You get PDFs, you get all kinds of things to take with you when you go. We'll do the tea circle. We'll different ways to close the ceremony out because we always have a closing ceremony as well. So they'll give you different ideas for that. You can do poetry, you can do chanting. So we cover all of it. We dissect it and we cover it. And that way you can walk away leading one of these on your own with all the tools that you need.
Yeah. Like the next day you could lead a forest bathing experience if
Yeah.
you wanted to, because we have the
Yes.
presentation, we have the
Yep.
handouts that you give to your people, we have
Yes.
everything you need. Um,
Yes.
there's oh, and they get to experience a they get to, you
Yes.
actually have an experiential experience during the
Yes.
certification where they get to feel the full experience in case they are from somewhere else and they haven't been to the forest bathing experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're outside for at least an hour and a half, sometimes even a little
Mhm.
bit longer, depending on how many people are in the certification. So yeah, you
Yeah.
experience it as well, which is such a key component of it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. Well, thank you, Angela, for being here.
thank you,
I will
Courtney.
say that, I mean, you are one of the most grounded people that I
Mm.
know, and it's by no mistake it's because you're in nature all of the time.
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
that's
so
what
you
that's
live
what
what you
keeps me
teach. You live what
absolutely.
you
Yes.
teach.
Yes. Thank you. It's a
Well,
nice
thank you,
comment.
Angela. This has been so much
Thank you.
fun. And everybody on the internet streets listening to us, find us at www.shineohio.com and we will see you soon. Just bye for now.